Hey guys, I'm Jason. This is ComicCryptoStock, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 50 books. And I'm going to kind of break this down in three sections. We're going to do the moderns first, then we're going to do copper, and then we'll do bronze and silver age. I don't have any golden age books, so we don't have to worry about those. And the way I kind of have this put together, it's going to be in reverse alphabetical order. So maybe you guys are able to guess what book I might bring out next based on what you think you've seen me show in the past. So we're going to go ahead and start out with the moderns. All right, so here we go. Being a Vegas local, I've got to show some love to the Run and Rumbles from the 90s. In the center there, I've got my uncut sheet of the basketball cards that were out at that time. That Sports Illustrated, Larry Johnson signed that really super early on. I promise you will not see any Larry Johnson signatures like that. He started to really make it a lot shorter, and toward the end of his career, it was just like an L and a J. That was all you would see. And then you can even look at the signature I got a few years later on the right there, and it just shows Low Joe. So that's how much the signature changed just in the course of a couple years there. All right, so let's go ahead and start it off. Exo Monowar, number 1, 1 in 500, brush metal variant. I show that book raw and in other haul videos when it came back from CGC. X-Men Blue, number 21. That's the Stephanie Hans variant. As soon as I saw that cover, I really just fell in love with it and had to have it. Witcher, number 1. That is the Stan Sakai cover. And with The Witcher going to Netflix, book really could pick up a lot of steam, and that variant is a little bit harder to come by than the standard cover. Walking Dead number 1, 9.6. This has the black mature readers label, which is quite a bit rarer than the white version, just by my kind of keeping track on stuff on eBay. I think that that's probably about maybe 20% of the Walking Dead number 1s are actually black labels. So if you are looking to pick one up, I would, use some patience and try and find a black label if you can. Ultimate Fallout 4, first appearance of Miles Morales. This was a really big spec book for me. I've got a ton of these. And I believe in the character and the movie that's coming out later this year. That is the Ultimate Fallout 4 1 for 25 variant. Pretty sweet cover. That book has been picking up a lot of steam as well. Ultimate Spider-Man number 1. This is the retailer incentive white cover, and I don't remember what the ratio was on this back in the day. This was one of the first spec books that I really did well on back in the day. I had about 17 of these things, sent them into CGC, and sold them off and made a pretty good profit and kept a few for myself. And actually, I'm kind of surprised that they're not calling this book kind of the start of the Spider-Verse, because Bendis, who writes the Ultimate Fallout, wrote this, and this was the different version, the newer version of Peter Parker, and I believe that this is the version of Peter Parker that kind of passes the mantle off to Miles Morales. And I know that people are kind of calling Spider-Man Noir the first appearance of the Spider-Verse, but I think that the first appearance of the universe in which Miles Morales came from really should be that book. That's just my personal opinion. Saga number 1, Fantastic story. If you haven't read Saga, you definitely need to. Would love to have the RRP version of that book, but just can't justify the prices that book is bringing right now. I just can't see spending $2,700 on a 9.8 for a book that basically came out a couple months after this one. It's almost like a second printing, but there's only 500 of them out there, so it's pretty crazy. NYX3, everyone knows about that book. First appearance of Laura Kenny, and another investment quality book that I have multiple copies of, and I would definitely suggest, if you're looking to invest in a nice solid book, that is definitely one to pick up. Miss Marvel 2, I believe this is the 1 for 50 Melina variant. It's either 1 for 50 or 1 for 25, but I'm pretty sure it's a 1 for 50. This is another one of those covers that as soon as I saw it, I instantly fell in love with it and knew that I had to have one. Thought CGC was a little bit tough on the 9.2. I kind of thought it was going to be a 9.4. But anyway, beautiful book, beautiful cover. It's just going to be an iconic classic cover in the future, I promise. All right, Harbinger Wars, number 1. This is the 1 for 75, I believe. Zurcher variant. Not, the most intricate cover, I guess, just the flag there, but with the Bloodshot movie coming, the Harbinger movie coming, and then later Harbinger Wars coming, it's kind of a cool book and could definitely pick up some steam. That is Divinity 3. I believe it was a 1 for 30 variant, and that's Louis LaRosa. So in Divinity 3, you've got the first appearance of Myshika, Casimir, and the unknown force. I don't know if they've given that a name. But anyway, that's a pretty good book as far as, future with those characters having their first appearance. It's Divinity number 1, the Louis LaRosa 1 for 40 variant. Just another book that as soon as I saw that cover, I fell in love with it and knew I had to have it. And another pretty rare book. There's only about 350 of them out there. And that's the first appearance of the Divinity character. Captain Marvel 17, second print. Second cameo appearance of Kamala Khan, and first cover appearance of Kamala Khan. Predates her first appearance, yada yada, all the beautiful stuff CGC throws on that label. Long and short of that book is there are not that many of them out there. There's only about an estimated 1,000 print run, and everyone wants it. It's not technically her first appearance, but it's probably going to be, my bet is this book is going to be the one to have in the future. So that is going to do it for the modern books. Now we are off to the Copper Age. And this is when I was collecting comics, so the Copper Age is really special to me. Exo Mono War number 1. That is the first appearance of Exo Mono War. Exo Mono War number 4. That's the first cameo of the Shadow Man, Jack Boniface. Unity number 0, the Red Label. That's a pretty tough book to find. The blue label is the one that I think they gave away for, I think they gave them all away for free, but the red labels are really tough to get. The blue label is the common one. X-Men 266, first appearance of Gambit. McFarlane, Spider-Man number 1, Platinum. Now, this book, when we were kids, Boy, the glare there is pretty bad. Sorry, guys. When we were kids, we had never seen one of these books. We knew that they existed, and we used to run around pretending that our green Spider-Man #1, which looks very similar to this, was actually a platinum, and we'd run around and chase each other and stuff like that and talk about, oh, I've got the platinum. No, I've got the platinum. And basically, when eBay came around in the early 2000s, I was able to get on eBay and actually see the platinums and buy one. So that was one of the first books that I picked up when I came back to collecting in the early 2000s. So there is the silver edition in 9.9. That's one of my highest graded books. Not too many of those out there, although they did make, like 500,000 or a million of those particular books. I feel that the high grade 9.9s or possibly 10.0s will be sought after by people, that grew up and collected in the 90s when we get older. So I think that those are pretty good investments. Spawn #1 in 9.9. Kind of the same thing applies there. A lot of people, this was the second big spec book that I bought when I was a kid. Picked up 30 Spawn #1s. I still have them. Unfortunately, none of mine were going to grade a 9.9, but I did pick one up, I don't know, about a year and a half ago. And the book has kind of moved up quite a bit since I picked it up, and we've got the new Spawn movie coming, so it could push that book a little further. But again, Spawn #1 in a 9.9 or 10.0, I still think is a pretty good investment. As people my age get older, they're going to probably start to hunt down those things that remind them of when they're kids. And if they have money, they're going to want a 9.9 or a 10.0. Solar Man of the Atom #3. So that's the first appearance of Toyo Harada, who is definitely going to be a major villain in the Valiant universe, and he's basically the arch nemesis of Pete Stanchek, the leader of the Harbinger kids. So that guy is definitely going to be in the movies and is a very important villain within the Valiant universe. And when I was a kid, I picked up 3 of those books, and all 3 of them graded 9.8 when I sent them in, which is pretty sweet. And I didn't have that many doubles of all that pre-Unity Valiant from back then, but for whatever reason, had 3 copies of that one. Shadow Man #1. That is the first full appearance of Jack Boniface, the Shadow Man. And there is a Shadow Man movie in the works also. So here is Rise Zero, and I'm actually not going to count this as 2 books. It's just going to be 1, but this is a matte version in 9.8. And here is the much more sought after glossy version in 9.8. Another big spec book for me. Knowing that the Bloodshot movie was going to be coming, actually at the time that we got these, I thought that the Harbinger movie was going to come first. But they've flip-flopped things around again, and now we're going to get Bloodshot first. So that book is definitely going to pick up steam. If you can find Rise Zeros in the wild, I would recommend definitely picking them up. Preacher #1. That's the first appearance of Jesse Custer. Preacher TV show has been pretty decent. It's not great, but it's decent. The first season started off kind of a little bit weird, but by the 3rd episode or so, it started to kind of get better. I think we're getting ready to have another season of that. X-Men 21, that's the first full color appearance of Hellboy. We've got a Hellboy movie in the works again, and that book should start to pick up some steam. Back in the 2000s, I picked up maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure, about 10 or 15 of these when the first Hellboy movie was coming out. And they didn't really move up too much, so I didn't sell any of them after that movie, just kind of hung on to them. Sent a couple of the better ones in to get graded. The rest of them are still kind of raw. New Mutants 98, first appearance of Deadpool. And I'm not counting this as another book, but just this is the Mark Jewelers insert variant. Super, super rare. And you hardly ever see any of them out there. I didn't even know that Mark Jeweler variants existed in that book. And we've got New Mutants 87. This book I bought as a kid, and I'm telling you, in 91 or 2 or 3 or whenever I picked that book up, this was something that I had been hunting for basically just about as soon as I started collecting comics. Cable was super hot, and I'm telling you, that book, even though there's a lot of them out there, was literally impossible to find in Vegas. No comic book shops had it. I would constantly call and check, hey, do you guys have a New Mutants 87? They never had it. I mean, it might as well have been Amazing Fantasy 15. It just was not around. You just could not get it. So eventually, one of the shops, Hit and Run, was a baseball card shop. They started selling comics also. Had a copy. I walked in there, on the wall, New Mutants 87. So I'm sitting there looking at the thing. I'm like, yeah, I want the New Mutants 87. How much is it? And I can't remember how much they told me at the time. It was either like $100 or $120, and Guide was less than that. Guide was like $80. And I was like, whoa, why are you trying to charge so much? And like, well, this is a really, really nice one. And I just kind of looked at him and was like, man, you're just trying to bend me over for a little bit extra money, huh? And at the time, I had been hunting for that book for so long, never saw one at any comic book shop. And I was like, you know what? At this point, I just want the damn book. So I paid whatever they were asking for it. And once I got that book home, it was in a hard case. I had it up on the bookshelf. Man, that book was out. I mean, I looked at that thing every day. I wanted to look at that book every day. So it sat like that for a really long time. And then one day I was like, as I'm getting older, I'm like, this book probably shouldn't just be out to where the sun could potentially hit it. I don't think it really did hit it too much. But when I compare it to other copies that I have, the orange looks like it's gone a little bit more yellow, and I've seen some other ones that are a little bit more reddy orange. And I don't know if the colors have faded a little bit or if that's just the way the book came. But regardless, I'll never sell this particular copy. I have another 9.8 and some 9.6s and stuff like that. But this particular copy, since I got it as a kid, I'm keeping that one for forever. I mean, just the story behind it, my personal story, I'm just never going to let that book go. There's no reason to. Magnus Robot Fighter number 5. So this is a flip book, and on the other side is Rye number 1, and that is the first appearance of Rye, who is the inheritor of Bloodshot's nanites. So that's why he looks very similar to Bloodshot. So that's basically the first appearance of the nanites that are inside of Bloodshot. So this is another key that could really pay off a little bit later. I'm sure that as Valiant gets going, they will make some type of a Rye movie. It's set in the future. And this is kind of one that a lot of people are talking about, and it's pretty difficult to get in a 9.8. So if you're able to pick up a high grade copy, I would definitely suggest doing so. Oh, one other thing to mention with that Magnus is they have cards and coupons. You have to make sure all the cards are there and all the coupons are there, because everyone cut their coupons out to send out for this mail away Magnus number 0. And there is a retailer incentive that has no card inside of it, but you want to get the one that's the mail away. Hard Corpse number 1 gold. Beautiful Jim Lee cover. It's actually a gatefold cover, and I have a regular copy here that we can open up so I can show you the gatefold. So that's just one of my favorite Jim Lee covers, and it happens to be on a Valiant book. I mean, just lots of action going on. Pretty awesome cover there. And we've got Harbinger number 1. This was the big book from Valiant that was the monster 6 months after it came out. Very hard to find in a 9.8 due to the fact that they use really thin paper, and there's prone to get little spine splits along the side. I mean, even from just being in storage. So if you're ever looking at picking up a high grade copy of Harbinger number 1, make sure it has the coupon. And the coupon is not the instructions to the coupon. The coupon is actually a mini comic. So you have to look at both sides of that coupon. One is instructions, one is the actual coupon. Sometimes people say it has the coupon and all it has is the instructions to the coupon. Then really pay close attention to that spine, because it is super prone to little spine splits. And that will really ruin your grade. So there's the Harbinger 0 pink mail away. So the blue cover is the reprint and the pink cover is the mail away. And a big difference between the mail away, this cover is like a thick cardstock, and on the interior front and back cover, they reproduce all the coupons that you had to cut out in order to get it. And all those coupons together form like a mini comic, which is Toyo Harada's origin story. Eternal Warrior number 4. That's the cameo first appearance of Bloodshot. There's a lot of people that are hunting this book down, and I mean, it's fantastic as well. But I do think that as time goes on, that Rise 0 will be the Bloodshot book to own. For me, it seems like if you already have Rise 0 and you want to pick up Eternal Warrior 4, maybe you would get both of them. But if someone's only going to want one, I would assume that they're going to choose the Rise 0 to go for the first full appearance. Even though that Eternal Warrior 4, I believe, is a little bit of a smaller print run and maybe a little bit harder to find, but I still think that Rise 0 will end up winning in the long run. So there is Eternal Warrior number 1, and that is the gold puffy because it's got this embroidered part there, the warrior. And here is the gold flat because it doesn't have this. So what happened was Diamond, back in the day, Diamond made mistakes too, just like they still do today. So what happened was these were supposed to be a 1 per store variant, and Diamond mixed them up and they ended up just sending them out however they came. So there were stores that every single one of their copies ended up being a gold, and then all the stores didn't get their 1 copy like they were supposed to. And Valiant gave some of these away as well. So what happened was, after they realized the mistake, Diamond paid to basically reproduce the comic, and they decided to add this raised gold leafing there, and everyone called that a puffy. And they made more of them at that point, because I don't know exactly what the print runs were, but I know that there's probably about double of these as compared to these, because they reproduced that book, sent every comic book store one of those, so they got their one per store variant like they were supposed to, and then they made a whole bunch more extra to give away to people. So this is the rarer one, and it's worth more, even though this one kind of looks a little bit cooler with the raised lettering there. Batman Adventures 12, first appearance of Harley Quinn. Tough book to get in 9.8, and I've submitted a lot of these to CGC, and it just really seems that they grade this book tough as to compare to what I would grade it. And I got really lucky to get this one raw and submit it and have it come back in 9.8, so I'm super happy to have that in the collection. It's Amazing 361, first appearance of Carnage. This is another book that I bought when I was a kid. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for it, but right around probably $10. I didn't get it right when it came out, but you know, it started to pick up steam really a couple months after it had already been out. So I went and grabbed actually that, and I believe I got 360, 61, and 62 all together at the same time. Amazing 300, first appearance of Venom. I'm sure you guys have seen that book a gazillion times as well. Amazing 299. For the longest time, the hobby was considering Amazing 299 to be the first appearance of Venom, but you know, years later they've decided that that was the cameo appearance, and Amazing 300 is the first appearance. Amazing 252, that's the first appearance of the black costume, which later becomes Venom. And there we have Archer and Armstrong number 0 gold edition. And all of these Valiant golds were given away at some point. And when I was a kid, I found out that Valiant was going to give these away to people that kind of advertised or helped spread the word about Valiant Comics. So being the entrepreneur that I was when I was a kid, I decided that I needed to win a whole bunch of these gold books for my collection. So I proceeded to do all kind of little advertising things. I made glorified huge stickers that I was able to stick on like cars or garages and all sorts of other stuff. And so I would do that, take pictures of it, fill out letters and all kind of different family members' names, and send all that off to Valiant, and I scored a ton of gold books. I don't think I really had to buy any of them, and I've got doubles of some of them. And so it was just a really fun thing that I was able to do when I was a kid, and that's something that I'll always remember. It's why Valiant is really just so special to me, as well as all those Valiant golds that, you know, I was writing letters to Valiant to get them. And, you know, these things showed up and basically just like a USPS priority, like thick cardboard envelope. They weren't bagged and boarded or nothing. So the fact that they even showed up and that kind of that there is a 9.8 sitting right there is pretty tough, because they just weren't shipped. They didn't care about them. They were just giving them away for free to kind of make people happy or whatnot. Tomb of Dracula 10 in 9.4, first appearance of Blade. This book's been picking up steam. due to people speculating that Marvel is going to reboot Blade or make a new movie or include him in some type of TV show or something like that. Strange Tales 110, first appearance of Doctor Strange. This book I think is going to start picking up some steam. I think it's relatively undervalued for what it is and for the type of character Doctor Strange is. He's a pretty prominent character in Infinity Wars and that type of thing. Star Wars #1, 9.8 white pages. That book is 40 years old or more now, and to get that in 9.8 with the white pages is pretty difficult, and I think the book is undervalued for what it is. Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom, Gold Key, #1. That's the first appearance of the original Solar Man of the Atom, which Valiant later licensed to create their Solar Man of the Atom. Giant Size X-Men #1, 9.4 white pages. Second Wolverine, first new team, first Storm, Colossus, Thunderbird, Nightcrawler. Really, really good book. And I believe this one has a super bright future with the X-Men rights now going back to Disney and Marvel. Amazing Spider-Man #129, first appearance of Punisher. It's 9.6 white pages. So back in about 2002, I decided that the next spec that I was going to work was going to have to do with the Punisher movie that was coming out. So I picked up two 9.4s and a 9.6 and waited for the movie to come out. I thought the movie was pretty good, but it basically flopped, and the books really did nothing, or maybe even they lost a little bit of steam after that. And that was kind of the death blow for me that made me kind of stop collecting for a while. Books have done really well now lately since The Punisher has been in Netflix. And one of my 9.4s, I was able to upgrade to a 9.6 with the press from Mike over at Hero Restoration. The other 9.4 I ended up selling just to kind of buy some other stuff. It's Amazing Spider-Man #5 in a CGC 8.5. Beautiful cover. Dr. Doom, first time crossing out of Fantastic Four. And I think that Dr. Doom has a pretty bright future now with the Fantastic Four rights going back to Marvel. It's Amazing Spider-Man #1 and a CGC 5.0 with off-white pages. So this is another book that once eBay came around in the early 2000s, I was able to actually buy one of these, even though as a kid I never saw one in my whole life. And I ended up having about 3 of these at one point, and I traded one of them for another book that I'll probably share in the future when it gets back to me. And then I sold off the other lower grade one. It was a 2.5 just to kind of be able to buy some other things. But really happy to have that book still. I'll probably always keep an Amazing Spider-Man #1 in my collection. If I get rid of this one, then that would probably mean that I'm upgrading to try and get a slightly better one or something. But that's it. That's the top 50 books in my collection. And there could potentially be a lot more books that could have made this list, but I kind of went with stuff that had been in my collection for a while and stuff that had some significant meaning to me. So there's a lot of other beautiful modern books that just, didn't quite have the meaning to me, even though they're beautiful. They haven't withstood the test of time. So this is kind of how I put this together. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a super long video, and if you made it to the end, thank you. And any comments that you have, were you able to predict any of the books since I was kind of going in reverse alphabetical order? Let me know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.